I think Stephen, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Stephen Karcha. I'm Vice President of Project and Construction Management with Advanced Project Management. We're housing Alexandria's construction and owners rep. With me tonight is Aaron Remolona, Vice President with Housing Alexandria. Brian Embry with Whiting Turner, the general contractor for the project. And my associate, Jay Kamen, the Senior Project Manager with APM, who will be the direct manager of this project. So with that, let me share screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I will turn this over to Aaron to give a project overview.
Okay, so hi everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. Stephen and Kayla said my name is Aaron Remolona. Thank you for your interest in our development between Glebe Road and Mount Vernon in the Alexandria-Charalagua neighborhood. I think Stephen will be providing an overview of the project details in a moment, but I'll go ahead and summarize the history of this project and the key milestones that have gotten us to this point. So our team has taken this project through the city's planning process from 2020 to 2022, and we received DSUP approval in July of 2022. This included numerous community meetings during this time. For those that are interested, recordings of these meetings are provided on our website. One of us will drop the link to the project page in the meeting chat. And in addition, there's a lot of general information about the project and an interest form for folks to sign up for if they would like continued updates of our progress. Since receiving DSUP approval last summer, we've been working our way through the final site plan approval process and received this approval a month and a half ago at the beginning of June. In addition, at the end of last month, the project was approved for $64 million, a $64 million commitment from the City of Alexandria through the Office of Housing. This commitment allows us to begin construction this summer. And so we're here tonight to provide this overview of the construction process and our plan to mitigate the impact of construction on the surrounding areas to the best of our abilities. With that, I'll turn it over to Stephen, unless you were picturing me going over these slides here.
I'm happy to, Aaron.
Okay, thank you.
So the development is comprised of two buildings. Building one, the larger of the two, has 416 units with a 2-story underground parking garage. It has commercial space that walks out onto Mount Vernon Avenue. There's amenities throughout the building with 2 6-floor terraces and a large central courtyard park that is open and available to the public. In addition to that, there's a long linear park beside the building. This building is going to be constructed in 3 different phases: the garage and then the building itself in 2 phases. And we'll get into details momentarily. The smaller of the 2 buildings, building 2, is located on Mount Vernon Avenue. It has 58 units, 2 floors of commercial space, a 3rd floor terrace, and it will be constructed as phase 3. So this is a graphic that shows the differences, shows the 2 buildings, building 2 and the larger building 1, with West Glebe at the front of the page. There's a, excuse me, the central courtyard is in this area that's open. It's accessible from West Glebe, and then it leads to steps, and you'll see that in the next slide, that come down to the alley that goes out to Mount Vernon. This is the large park area that's adjacent to the building that's also open to the public. Looking at it from Mount Vernon, as we just said, this is the large linear park that comes down. Here is the steps that come down from the courtyard, which is actually a story above this level, and comes out to the new streetscape that will flank the existing alleyway that will be widened. This purple area down here is the single story of commercial space, and this will be the residential lobby from Mount Vernon. With building 2, there's 5 stories of residential space above 2 stories of commercial space with an outdoor terrace here. This is the main entrance to the commercial space, and the residential lobby is located back at this corner. Community liaison. So the project, as we've gone through the City of Alexandria's zoning approval process, requires us to appoint a community liaison. And that person is Aaron, who is with us. This information is posted on a sign that's located on site, their web address and phone number. And if we could have someone post that in the chat so that people could take that down. Any questions that arise during the course of construction, you can contact Aaron at this number. He'll be monitoring that on a daily basis. He will get with APM and Whiting Turner, and we will get him the appropriate response to be able to address your question. If there's a meeting that needs to be set up or something to discuss the issue, we're happy to do that as well. Project phasing and schedule. So we're going to briefly walk you through a very high level view of the phasing plans for the project. There's numerous details and such, but we're going to keep this at a high level. And then we'll discuss the critical milestones and schedule for the project. So construction will be commencing at the end of August. That will include the demolition of the hair salon, the Huascarán restaurant, and the old Safeway building located here, as well as the parking lots and such associated with that. There are numerous utilities that we need to install, including storm sewers that used to go cut through the site, that will be enlarged and go around the new building. These will be much larger to help out and assist in the stormwater issues that currently reside in this area. The city is also undertaking a project to improve the storm structures and piping that are downstream. That will start in roughly a year. So through these 2 projects, the city's project and ours, the stormwater and the flooding that occurs in this area should be much improved and mitigated. Also during this time, from August until the 4th quarter of 2024, the mass excavation of the site will occur, as well as the excavation and construction of the garage. Again, it's a 2-story garage at the glebe side, and it's actually 1 story below grade at the Mount Vernon side. Starting in Q4 of 24, the first phase of the building 1 will commence. That is this pink area located here, including the courtyard. And then also building 2 will commence construction. This construction will go on until Q2 of 2025, at which time the second tower of building 1 will commence construction. I should note that these red rings that are shown on these plans are the swing of the tower cranes. There'll be no lifting over the public streets or adjacent businesses. All the lifting will come up from closed areas that are closed off for construction and be within the confines of the construction site. This leads us to the in Q2 of 2026, building 2 and the first portion of building 1 with the garage, as well as the alleyway here, will be opened up and ready to occupy, leaving only building 2 that will finish in Q4 of 2026. So to walk through the dates of construction, at the end of August, we'll start construction. From August through to December of this year, we'll have the demolition of the buildings, installation of new utilities in Mount Vernon, Glebe, and on-site. In December of this year, we will auger drill the shoring piles. We will not be hammer driving them, which is what you typically hear, and you hear that pound, pound, pound sound. We will not be doing that so that we mitigate the noise to the surrounding neighborhood. We'll instead be drilling a hole and dropping the pile in its place. Much quieter, much quieter operation. When the shoring piles are complete in December of this year, the excavation will commence and continue through April of next year, 24. When the excavation is near complete, the garage construction will actually commence and will go through October of 24. When the footprint under the phase 1, the first tower of building 1 is complete, the garage portion. Phase 1, that first tower of building 1, will commence construction. And that will occur through September 2026 with the other buildings. In June of 26, the garage, building 1, tower 1, and building 2 will all be ready to occupy. And 5 months later, building 1, tower 2, the second tower of that building, will be ready to occupy. These are the high-level milestones for the project. I'd like to move on to circulation and discuss pedestrian circulation, vehicular circulation, and the truck haul routes. We know that this is a very, there's a lot of pedestrians who walk in this area. There's a lot of traffic on the streets. In some areas, it's dangerous. And so we are very protective of these measures. Safety is the highest priority in regards to pedestrian circulation. I'm sure Brian will nod his head and agree that safety is their #1 priority on the job site. The Whiting Turner will be securing sidewalk closure permits that are issued by the city. We will always have one sidewalk on a street, will always be open and available. We will not be closing down both sidewalks on Glebe Road or Mount Vernon Avenue. If we're working on one side, the other sidewalk will be open. When we start off initially, the sidewalks on the construction side of Mount Vernon Avenue will be closed as we're doing utility work here. They'll be open briefly while this storm sewer tie-in is made, and then this sidewalk, the sidewalk on Mount Vernon, the far side of Mount Vernon, will remain open throughout the project. So this sidewalk, with the exception of a short time period when we tie in a new storm sewer pipe here, will be open throughout the project. The existing bus stop will remain open. The crosswalk here, it will remain open. You'll be able to walk down, come to this crosswalk, or when this building is being under construction, walk down to the next crosswalk, which is roughly at this location on Mount Vernon. There will be signage that'll be posted that'll be required by the permit, directing you to where the sidewalks are closed to cross so that you don't walk down all the way down to where it's closed and have to double back to where the crosswalk is located. On Glebe Road, we don't have any work on the other side of the street, with the exception of a small conduit crossing that crosses the street all the way here. So there will be a short shutdown of this sidewalk, but this on the opposite side of Glebe. But for the most part, the sidewalk on our side of Glebe at the construction site will be closed for the duration of the project. Part of the closures is not because we're doing physical work right there, but because we're also doing vertical work immediately adjacent to it. And there's OSHA requirements in regards to hazard protections and such, and to mitigate hazards to passing pedestrians. Moving on to vehicular circulation, Whiting-Turner, when they do their utility work out in the streets, and then when they pave the road at the completion of the project, we'll get lane closure permits issued by the city. Those again will have traffic signs and such that will direct you on where to go. They will also have flagmen that will be out there directing traffic to ensure that everyone moves through the space safely. The majority of the utility work we have in the streets is located on Mount Vernon Avenue and will be completed this year. There is very limited utility work that occurs on Glebe Road with the conduit crossing, I said, and a couple of utility connections to existing utilities in the street. Those will also be completed this year. From the beginning of the project, when we started at the end of August, the existing alley would be closed off from the back of what is currently the city parking lot. The alley would be closed off all the way to Mount Vernon. The reason that it's closed for the duration or near duration of the project is because we have utility work, a storm box culvert that's 12 feet wide and 8 feet deep that needs to be installed at this location. And then it's used for construction access around the new building. This area of the alley also needs to be closed when the construction of building 2 occurs, again, for safety reasons and fall hazardous materials potentially falling. Truck haul routes. Our intention is, with the initial discussions we've had with the city, is that trucks will come from Route 1 and travel east back to Route 1. They will not be going out west or north to 395. This will all be confirmed when the city issues the haul route permits that Whiting-Turner will be obtaining for the project. The intention is to have basically a clockwise circulation on site, with trucks coming in from Route 1, coming down West Glebe, turning into the site, or turning into what is currently the loading dock driveway. That will become a passageway, a site access road going out to Mount Vernon during construction. Trucks would then exit right on Mount Vernon Avenue and head off east to Route 1. The reason that the clockwise circulation is proposed is so that trucks can immediately just turn in right and not worry about trying to cross traffic, which causes a higher risk of potential accidents. Also, turning right out onto Mount Vernon Avenue limits that risk of trucks having to turn left across traffic that's oncoming. I'd like to talk next about the construction management plan and some of the specifics, points I wanted to bring up. Work hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's no work permitted on Sundays and no work permitted on City of Alexandria legal holidays. This is the hours, the maximum hours that the City of Alexandria's noise ordinance permits construction work to occur. So we're not straying outside of those. This is not to say that construction will go till 6 o'clock every day, or that work will occur on every Saturday. But these are the limits of the maximum time that the construction work can occur. Worker security badging. All workers on site will receive an orientation on their first day. This will go through the project requirements, the safety measures that are in place, and specifically these project management items that we're discussing this evening. Once they go through their orientation, they'll be issued a numbered hard hat sticker that they will place on their hard hats, and that will be assigned to each worker. Whiting Turner will keep a list of worker names and their assigned numbers on site. If there's an issue, their person is identified by their physical description, what they're wearing, but also their hard hat number. If they are the only person that makes a widget in North America, then that person, if they've done something wrong, will be not allowed to come to the site. And they'll have to find someone else from another jurisdiction or country to make the widget. Worker conduct policy. All workers must conduct themselves in a respectable manner. APM does numerous projects. Almost all of our projects are on occupied environments with schools or businesses or churches. And so this is something that's very important to us. It's very important to Whiting Turner as well. There's no lewd or distasteful clothing, language, partial nudity, or inappropriate actions permitted. They will not be tolerated. No fraternization with building patrons, residents, teachers, and the students of St. Rita. None of that will be allowed. There's no loitering around the adjacent businesses tolerated. There's a zero tolerance policy, as I just noted. It's not that you get a second chance or 3 strikes and you're out. It's a 1 strike and you're out deal. Construction worker parking. So during phase 0, which is again the site work, the demolition, the utility work, and building of the garage, there is sufficient area on the site for the number of construction workers to be able to park on site during that time frame. Once the construction of the buildings, the vertical components start to occur, whether it be building 1 or building 2, through their completion, Whiting Turner will be leasing off-site parking lots for their workers to park at. That will be done in conjunction with Housing Alexandria. All of the workers at that time will be parking off-site. We've reached out to several venues, but they were not receptive to making agreements this far in advance. So as we get closer to the date of fall of 24, when vertical construction starts, we will have those agreements in place. It's also a condition for our building permits to be issued for those phases. So the city has that requirement in place to ensure that no one is parking in the neighborhoods. Whiting Turner will encourage carpooling amongst their workers. A lot of workers already carpool, but that will be highly encouraged, as well as promoting Metro and Dash services, bus services. Cleanliness. Street cleaning will occur during the earthwork and concrete portions of the project will occur on nearly a weekly basis. It'll occur more often if it gets muddy out there. The city will make sure that the streets will be cleaned, but we'll be doing that proactively as well. In order, as through the balance of the construction, it'll be on an as needed basis. We found that in order to keep a job site more clean, it's generally lunch trash and things like that, break trash from when the workers eat, that gets blown around out of trash cans and such and through the site. And so we require a dedicated area on site to be located at least 20-25 feet away from the adjacent properties where all the workers can eat lunch and take their breaks. That's not to say they don't do it in the building itself, but they eat it and meet in a confined area. So that limits the spread of lunch trash and debris. Whiting Turner will be doing also a daily debris cleanup. That'll be inside their site, making sure that there's not things to blow around, as well as walking the sidewalks in the exterior if anything is blown outside of their construction fence. Which brings me to a good point that I did not bring up earlier, is starting at the end of August, a 6-foot tall construction fence will be erected around the entire construction site with gates located at the existing parking lot entrances to the site, because those will be utilized for construction access. And that concludes our presentation tonight. We're happy to address any questions that you have.
Just as a reminder for everybody, you can ask your question either by putting it in the Q&A box or in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. You can also ask it by hitting the button that says raise your hand. And if you do that, I'll be able to give you permission to speak if you'd prefer to ask your question out loud. As well, if you ask your question in Spanish, we will be able to interpret it on the spot and get your question answered and translated for you. So we'll wait just a few minutes to see if we see any questions in the Q&A or in the chat. And I have one here. The question says, will the city lot be usable for a time as construction begins?
So in discussions that Housing Alexandria has had with the city, it's been determined that the current city parking lot will not be able to be utilized by the public once construction commences. There's a question posted, will there be any attempt to redirect traffic at the end of the alley? So as part of closing the alley, Whiting Turner will be required to post signage starting at Russell Road. This will be dictated by the city, but the plan that we initially see is there'll be signage posted at Russell Road that will say that the alley is closed and that all vehicles must exit back through to Russell Road to exit the alley. So the delivery trucks that frequent and come to the businesses that are along Mount Vernon Avenue, further north on Mount Vernon Avenue, those trucks would turn around and either back out or turn around and go out to Russell Road.
All right, as we wait a few seconds more to see if anything else comes in, Aaron or Stephen, do you want to just remind everybody about how they can get in contact with us?
Certainly, I'll put this slide back up. So this, again, this slide, Aaron is the main point of contact. He's the community liaison for the project to the construction and project management team. The phone number listed there has voicemail, and he will be monitoring that line daily. Then also you can obtain additional information by going to Housing Alexandria's website.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and add a second pitch for the website. If you go to housingalexandria.org, there's a contact section on our website. You can send us a message through the contact panel. As well, if you go to the project page for this, which is housingalexandria.org/Arlandria, you can see the work that we've done already. You can sign up for an interest list, and you can ask questions through a portal on that webpage as well. So we have plenty of ways to get in contact with us. As well, members of our staff are English and Spanish bilingual, so we are more than happy to answer questions in either of those two languages. I don't see anything else coming up, so I think at this point we will go ahead and call this meeting to a close. Once again, please get in contact with us if something comes up after the fact, but we thank you so much for your time and attending, and we look forward to being partners in the community with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.